Hey guys, good morning. Brian here, and I want to thank you for checking out another week of Church on the Couch, or maybe more appropriately this week, we should call it Church on the Crutch, right? This week, I'm recovering from Achilles tendon surgery, and honestly, it has been a tougher week than I expected. So I'm not actually filming a live message for you this morning, but don't think you're off the hook. You don't get to skip church. Nice try. I do want to share a message with you, though. And this is a message that was recorded back in 2015 when I was at Cross Community Church. And to be honest with you, this is probably my favorite message that I've ever done the entire time I've been in ministry. It's a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, and it deals with the topic of anxiety and the topics of depression. This past week, I've actually talked to several people from church and just friends and neighbors and people who are struggling, people who are dealing with anxiety and people who are dealing with depression and so much uncertainty in our world right now. And as I thought about this week and as I prayed a lot about it, I really felt led to share this message with you. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's a difficult message to hear. There's some parts of the message that are really tough to hear. And I really dive into some dark areas in my life, and I'm just completely honest in the message this morning, and I hope it has an impact on you. So my challenge for you this morning is twofold. Maybe as you listen to the message today, maybe you're dealing with anxiety and depression, and if you are, at the end of the message on Facebook, there'll be an online connection card that pops up. Now, first of all, we'd love everyone to fill out the online connection card. Just kind of gives us an idea of who's watching and who's paying attention. But it's a great way also to share prayer requests. So if you're dealing with anything like what I'm talking about, I want you to put that in the prayer requests, and I'm going to reach out to you this week, right? Because I want to have a conversation with you to get you the help that you so badly need in your life. So my second part of the challenge is maybe you're watching this morning and you're not facing any of these things, but you know someone who is, or you think somebody in your life might be. I want you to share this message with them because I truly think it's very powerful. I think it could be something that benefits you and them as well if they listen to it. This one's called Breaking the Silence. I hope you guys enjoy.
Good morning. Welcome to Cross Community Church. My name is Brian. I am one of the leaders here at C3. We are so excited that you guys are here with us for our brand new series called Weapons of Self-Destruction. So hopefully we will build a foundation over the next few weeks for you to completely change what 2014 was in 2015. So we're extremely excited about that. So a couple months ago, I had to go to a funeral home for a visitation. So I come home from work here at the church, and I go home, and I get a shirt out, and I iron it, and I get my suit out, and I lay it on the bed, and I pick a tie that's going to look real nice, because I like to coordinate my wardrobe as you speak. So I get it, I tie it real nice and neat, and so if you don't know anything about tying a tie, when you tie a tie, the bottom piece of your tie should come right to your belt buckle for it to be appropriate, for it to look good. So I had it looking good, man. Had the shirt on, put the jacket on. Jacket's a little snug. Jacket's usually a little snug. I'm a big guy, doesn't button, no big deal, So I go and I get the pants out, right? And I get these pants and I get them on and I get them up and I start to put them together, and I'm like, we got a problem. These are not going on the way they should. Okay, so I'm sitting there, I do the first thing, where you just, you suck and push, and you suck in so hard, your chest starts to hurt, and you're pushing so hard, your forearms, you're just sweating, right, and you're pushing. After a few minutes of trying this, wasn't working, okay? So the next thing I tried to do, I tried the jump, okay? Everybody knows the jump. You're in a pair of pants, you're trying to shake them in there. You're trying to shake that fat in those pants, right? And it just, nothing. After a few minutes, I'm a bull in a china shop anyway, so I'm in the bedroom, and I'm knocking stuff over, and Amy's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm getting dressed, and she's like, with who? I heard of elephants? Which, listen, an elephant joke when you can't get your pants on, not good timing, okay? Just for future reference, she's here. So I'm sitting there, and I'm sweating. At this time, I'm both sweating and swearing profusely, because I cannot get these stupid pants on. Right? And Amy's like, you need help? I'm like, no, I'm fine. And I could have used some help. I could have laid on the bed. I could have sucked it in. We could have had both of my kids sit on my belly, and she could have pushed and pushed, and we could have got them on. The only problem with that is I would never have been able to sit down, right? I'd have had to walk to the funeral home. Because the second I sit in the car, that button is going through the windshield at about 400 miles an hour. And I know this, right? So I finally just get frustrated, and I'm like, forget it. And I wore jeans and a polo to a funeral visitation because I was so mad and aggravated. And the problem is, I wonder how many of you today are just like that. You have issues or something going on in your life, you're jacked up. And listen, I know you're jacked up. Listen, don't come in here and pretend like you're not jacked up. First of all, I know you're jacked up because I'm being honest, I know some of your stories, okay? I hear them, you're jacked up. The other reason I know you're jacked up is because I'm jacked up. Trent's jacked up. We're all jacked up. It's okay to be jacked up. Just stop pretending that you're not. Nobody in the room is off the hook, but today I want to focus on worry, anxiety, depression, and suicide. And I know it's like, man, you're going to bring the whole crowd down, and I am a little bit, because I want to talk about these things because they're real. I want to talk about these things this morning because it's something the church never, ever talks about. And we avoid this situation. And some of you, just like me, in that situation, you're struggling unnecessarily because you're unwilling to get help. You're unwilling to ask for someone to be there and to help you, and you're struggling unnecessarily. So today, I want to provide some hope for you. Most of us here, at some point, will experience worry, anxiety, and depression, right? It comes in seasons. For those of you today where your season has turned into a sickness, I want to focus on you. I want to give you one phrase this morning, one thought, that I want you to write this down because of all the things I'll say this morning, this is by far the most important thing that I'll say the entire morning, okay? And here it is. It's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. It's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. Here at C3, our vision statement, our mission, everything we say is, listen, we're a church that accepts you wherever you are, but we care way too much about you to let you stay there. And that was the motto of Jesus Christ. Listen, it's okay to not be okay. Some of you in here today, you are not okay. You just went through the holidays. You've got that seasonal depression, the Christmas blues. Some of you just spent your first holiday without a loved one. Some of you, your marriages, everything around you was falling apart. You are not okay. And it's okay to not be okay this morning. But it's not okay to stay that way. It is not okay for you to come in here every single week and not be okay. It is not okay to stay that way. In James chapter 5, this great book in the Bible, and I love this because many scholars believe that James is the oldest book in the New Testament, which really doesn't have anything to do with the message. I just say that to make myself sound smart. Hopefully it worked. But the other cool thing about it is James was actually the brother of Jesus, which is a really cool thing because Jesus' own brother is writing about him. And I thought, man, it would be so cool if every time he referred to Jesus when he's writing, he referred to him as Bub, right? He's writing the scriptures, he's like, yeah, Bub, the other day, Bub and I were walking down. It would be so cool. Anyway, you didn't get it. But in James chapter 5, he writes this great 3 phrases. And for so long, we've looked at these and we think, well, that talks about physical sickness. If you're physically sick, you should do those things. But I think once we look at this, we'll understand that James wasn't just limiting it to physical sickness. He's expanding it to mental sickness as well. James chapter 5, beginning of verse 14. Is anyone among you sick? Let them call the elders of the church to pray over them and anoint them with oil in the name of the Lord. And the prayer offered in faith will make the sick person well. The Lord will raise them up. If they have sinned, they will be forgiven. Therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. All right? So again, we've always heard about this as a physical sickness. But I want to expand this today to a mental illness because depression is a mental illness. A great definition of depression, a clinical definition, is hopelessness that's inconsistent with reality. For many of you, if you're dealing with depression or if you've dealt with depression, you understand that in the middle of it, there is absolutely nothing that comes your way that makes you feel like there is hope out there. It's a hopelessness that's inconsistent with reality. And I want to tell you how it starts. I want to give you a little list this morning. Depression usually starts out in our minds and in our bodies as worry, okay? We start to worry about things. How many people in here worry about stuff? Listen, and I worry too, and that's my biggest problem, because with worry, I don't have the ability to turn it over. I don't have the ability to stop worrying, right, and just give it to God, to give it to friends, and put it in someone else's hands. I continue to focus on it, right? The problem with worry is if you continue to worry too long, worry turns into anxiety, okay? So anxiety is that point in your life where everything that you're worried about, you're now anxious about because you want to handle it. You don't know what to do. It's that moment in your life when your body is just reacting to all your worry. And it literally feels at times like your heart is going to pound out of your chest. You're nervous all the time. You want to strive. The problem with anxiety is this. Anxiety is like running a marathon at a dead sprint. It cannot happen. So after a while in anxiety, your body will physically and mentally shut down because you can't keep the pace of anxiety. So when we get to anxiety and it turns to that point, the next step is depression. So what starts out as worry leads its way into anxiety. Anxiety starts and goes into depression because your body, you physically and mentally shut down because you physically and mentally cannot handle what's going on in your life at that moment. So the problem is with depression, if not dealt with, leads to suicidal thoughts. So we start out with this pattern of worry, anxiety, depression, and depression not dealt with leads to suicidal thoughts. It leads to that point in our life where we start to think, man, this is not worth it. I cannot go on like this. I cannot do this. There's no hope. There's no way out of this. I don't have any help. You're in that depression. And the only way you see out of this is to take your own life. I want to tell you this today. If you were anywhere on this list, you were sick. And I don't say that as a point of condemnation. I say that to start a conversation with you this morning because I want to give you some things that will help you, because this list right here for the last 3 years has been my life. Most of you know my story. I started out as a kid. My father was a drug addict. My mom did an amazing job of holding our family together, but at best, my childhood was one that was unstable. I got married when I was 21, and in less than a year of being married, my mother-in-law passed away. It was very difficult on our marriage, very difficult on my wife and our family. Just a couple years later after that, my father passed away. Another difficult time. Just a couple years after that, we had a young nephew, just a couple months old, who passed away. And so all these things were just culminating and taking an effect on my life at this time, and I wasn't dealing with them. I was pastoring 2 churches. I was working part-time, and I was going to college as a full-time college student. Amy was finishing up her master's degree and then going on to her doctorate degree. We're getting ready to have our first child. So I leave pastoring 2 churches. I go into full-time youth ministry, and I'm preaching everywhere and doing all kinds of stuff. God is blessing us, giving the opportunity to share His word. The problem with that is I got so busy and so tied up in all these things and not dealing with issues in my own life that I forgot about what was truly important, almost lost my entire family. So when we came here to C3, Amy and I came here just to heal. We had no clue when we came here where our marriage was headed. God moved in a miraculous way, and we began a healing process in our marriage and in our family. To this day is just incredible. Came on staff here, and then just right as we're cleaning up that mess of our marriage, we find out that Amy has cancer. So we go through the cancer, we get that taken care of, and so far we're still cancer-free. As we're dealing on the back end of the cancer, I have back surgery that doesn't work and completely messed with my mind. As I'm healing from that, we start the building project here. We start loan applications and banks and contractors and all this stuff. And as I'm taking all of this on, I start to worry. Because every single day as we're building and every single day as we're paying contractors, I'm the one who's writing the checks. And I'm the one that's looking at what they're sending isn't matching what we have. And every single day, man, I'm like, listen, if this whole thing fails, it's me. It falls on me. And the worry was there. And the worry just turned. And quickly, that worry turned to anxiety. And that anxiety in my life over this and everything else that was going on that I hadn't dealt with at that time was overwhelming. And I remember I would sit there just on the front porch and watch the kids play in an absolute dead stare. And then in just a few minutes, my heart would feel like it was gonna race and pound out of my chest, and I would go from worry all the way to anxiety. And what happens is it led into a point of absolute depression in my life. It was the point where I did not enjoy my wife at all. There was nothing about our marriage, there was nothing about our relationship that brought me joy. There was nothing about our kids that brought me joy. I could honestly look at my kids playing and feel absolutely nothing for them. And it was absolutely frightening to me that I was feeling this way. I felt like I had no help. There was hopeless. It was just an absolute horrible situation. I had no joy in my relationship with Jesus Christ. I would read his word and be like, big deal. I would come in here and I hated every single minute of being here and being with you because there was no joy found in my relationship with Jesus Christ. There was no joy found in any relationship that I had. So that depression led to suicidal thoughts. And the only thing I knew to get rid of all of that was to wish that God would take my life. Every single night after my wife and I would pray, I would lay there, and before I fell asleep, I would beg and plead with God to take my life. God, do not let me wake up tomorrow morning. God, if you love me, you will not let me take another breath. And I would wake up every morning breathing, and I would be convinced that God did not love me because he did not take me out of that mess. Man, it was hard. So I got to a point with the suicidal thoughts that I said, you know what, God, if you're not going to take care of this, I'll take care of it on my own. And I grabbed a bottle of pills, and I sat there, and Amy was gone. It was on a Friday, and the kids were with my mom, and I'd come home from work early and decided it was a 90-day prescription of my blood pressure medication. And I decided I would take every single last one of them, and I would lay in bed, and I'd cover up, and I would close my eyes and deal with the pain for the very last time. And it was very dark, and it was very sick, and it was very painful, and it was very, very scary. Now, for some of you here this morning, you've been there. Some of you here this morning, and you're there now. And what I want to tell you is this: you don't have to be there. There's hope for you. There's an answer for you. There is a way out. Now listen, I know because I've been there. As you sit there and those thoughts cross your mind and you realize that everyone, from your kids to your wife to your job to your parents, everyone in your mind is better off if you're not here. And I've been there. I know what that's like to look around and think everyone here is better if I'm gone. I know you're there. When you think that, it's not true. They're not better off, okay? And I know because I've experienced the hope that comes through knowing Jesus Christ. So I want to share 3 things with you this morning from the book of James and those verses we read that absolutely saved my life. And here they are. The first one is this: is anyone among you sick? Let them call the elders of the church to pray over them. The first thing is this: you have to ask for help. If you're here this morning and you're in worry, anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts, you have to ask for help. The reason you have to ask for help is because I don't know what you're going through. I don't know that you're struggling. The person next to you doesn't know that you're struggling. My wife could probably see that I was struggling, but every time she asked me if I was okay, yeah, I'm fine. The standard answer that we all give. Right? It wasn't her job to pry that information out of me. It was my job to share it. And that's what James is saying here. Is anyone among you sick? Let them call the elders of the church to pray over them. You have to call someone. Guess what? You can't get through this on your own. Listen, for me, I thought as we continue this building process, as things starting to light up, this will get easier, and I'll deal with it better. Things will get better. Guess what? When you're that far gone, they won't. They never get better. They always get worse. And you have to ask for help. You have to get to a point where you're crying out for something to change inside of you. And that's where I was. I remember sitting on the end of my bed with a bottle of pills in one hand and a phone in the other. And I called my best friend, and he's sitting back there right now. His name is Aaron Archer. And I called him and I said, dude, I am freaking out. He had no clue when I was talking to him on the phone that I had a bottle of pills in my hand and I was ready to take them all. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, dude, I don't know, but I can't handle anything. I don't enjoy anything. I hate everybody. I hate my life. I just want out. Man, and I wasn't looking for great advice because this guy's never been in this situation that I know of. But he said the most amazing things to me. He's like, listen, he's like, have you told Amy? I'm like, no, she has no clue how bad this is. And he's like, man, you need to get some help. You need to call your doctor. He's like, but first, when your wife gets home, you can tell your wife. So I put the bottle of pills back. She came home that evening. I remember we're sitting on the porch, and I look at her, and just out of the blue, I'm like, hey, I got to tell you something. She's like, okay. I'm like, I do not enjoy you. And she's like, I'm sorry, what? I'm like, I don't know how else to lead into this, but I do not enjoy you. I said, and these kids in the front yard, I love them, but I do not enjoy them. I don't find any joy in anything. I remember she said, do you like your job? I was like, no, I don't like my job. I don't find any joy in it. We'd seen hundreds of people saved at this point. And for every one of them, I was just like, big deal, good for them. I didn't care. And I remember him saying, listen, you have to tell someone. My wife looked at me, she said, listen, she goes, I love you very much. I'm praying for you. She said, and you need to call your doctor. So I called my doctor, and the next thing I did was I call him up and I say, hey, listen, here's the situation, here's what's going on. And they're like, listen, get in here now. And the next thing is this, okay? So the first thing is you got to ask for help. Second, he says this, let them call the elders of the church to pray over them and anoint them with oil in the name of the Lord. The second thing is this, you have to take your medicine. For some of you here, maybe you need to actually go get medicine. But you need to take your medicine. You need to get some type of medicine if you're dealing with this. The amazing thing about this is we look at this verse and we always think, listen, we're going to anoint them with oil. We're going to pray about them. We're going to pray for them. This is a healing thing of spiritual powers. And it really is. But the problem with that is olive oil for thousands of years had been used for medicinal purposes. They would use olive oil from everything from treating diaper rash in babies all the way up to curing cancer. Is what they would use it for. So there was definite medicinal values in this. And one of the things I think James is saying in this is he's saying, listen, you've got to take your medicine. That means for some of you, you actually have to go get medicine. Now listen, I know where the struggle lies with this. Man, if I have to take medicine, then everyone around me as a Christian, they're going to say I don't believe in God. And listen, I've had people tell me that. There are churches that will tell you if you're on antidepressant medication, you do not trust in God. And my question for them is this, what about the person who's on chemo to cure cancer? Do they not trust in God? Listen, there is power in medicine. I understand that medicine is a man-made tool, but guess what? God can heal me however he chooses. I do not care how God chooses to heal me. I know this, since I started taking the medicine, I'm a better follower of Jesus Christ, I'm a better husband, I'm a better father, and those are the only three things in life I care about being. The rest I care nothing about. And I know it's difficult to sit there and think, man, I got to take medicine to get me to feel better. Listen, if you've got the flu, you don't hesitate to call. So why are you hesitating to call with mental illness? You are sick. You need help. You need to take your medicine. You need to understand that God can use that. Can God heal you from this completely? Yes, he can. He hasn't with me. The process of healing started with medication in my life. It helped me focus. It helped me do away with the suicidal thoughts. It helped me to bring that hopelessness and that was inconsistent with reality back to a hope in my life that there's a way out and that there's a better answer and that he is the only true answer. But something that's pointing me in that direction is through the medicine that I take. So every single day for over a year now, I take medicine for anxiety and depression to help me deal with it. And I'm not going to lie to you, I struggle sometimes having to take the medication, but I know this, I know the road to healing began the day I started to take it. And I know everything has changed in my life because of that. So first of all, you have to ask for help. You also have to be in a place in your life where you understand it's okay to take your medicine. And for some of you, you need to get your medicine. And then the last thing is this, he says this, and they pray, and the prayer offered in faith will make the sick person well. The Lord will raise them up. If they have sinned, they will be forgiven. Therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is both powerful and effective. And the last thing that you need to do is you need to talk about it. If you're here this morning and you're experiencing worry, anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts, you need to talk about it. I understand this. The times in my life when I try to hide it, when I try to hide my worry, anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts, it does not get better. It does not go away. Matter of fact, it gets darker and it gets worse when I don't talk about it. So what I do is I talk about it. Every time I start to feel anxious, every time I start to feel worried or down and depressed, and I don't feel like the medicine's working, I talk about it. The very first thing I do is I tell my wife, I'll say, listen, I am really anxious. And she'll say, I know, I can tell. Because I am on wit's end with you if I'm experiencing anxiety. And so I will tell her, and she'll be like, listen, okay, we got you. We got you here. Just relax. I'll text my friend Aaron. I'm like, dude, pray for me. I'm struggling really hard right now. And he'll be like, what is it? I'm like, I don't know. It's nothing brings it on. I can't pinpoint anything. But right now I know that I'm struggling. He's like, dude, I'm here. I've got people that I'm close to. Jimmy in this church. Many of you don't know Jimmy very well. I've had the opportunity over the last couple of years to get to know this guy really, really well. I actually spend more time with him than I sometimes spend with my family. Our relationship is kind of weird. Jimmy and I have spent more nights together in a bed and breakfast than my wife and I have, which is really, really weird. Several times we've been to Hobby Lobby or Joann Fabrics buying fabric together. There was one time we were at Walmart and we bought bras, panties, tampons, and pads together. Can't say that about many men in your life. Very, very odd relationship. But I'll come in here and a lot of times Jimmy will be like, dude, you're quiet. Are you okay? And I'm struggling. And it's another person that I can go to. Because all these people I want praying for me. Trent is a guy I want praying for me because no joke, we can be in a meeting and I'm like, dude, I'm struggling. I need you to pray for me. And Trent's like, bam. And he starts praying right there. I'm like, no. He's like, no, we're praying right now. And he'll just pray with you right there. There are people in your life you want praying for you. Listen, do not pick me as that person you want praying for you. Okay? If you tell me you want me to pray for you, make me do it right then. Because if not, I'm going to forget. And then you're going to come to me a week later and you'll be like, hey, listen, thanks for praying to me. And I'm like, yeah, listen, no problem. And I'm going to lie to you about praying for you, okay? I'm just being honest. You do not want me praying for you. Besides, I don't think my prayers go very high. Anyway, but so here's the thing. There are people you want. These are guys, these are people in my life and my wife. These are people I want praying for me. These are the people that I talk to. And you have to talk about it. When you're struggling with these things, man, you have to tell the people that you're closest to. You have to talk about the pain and the hurt in your life. And the reason you have to do all these things, the reason you have to ask for help, the reason that you have to take your medicine, the reason you have to talk to people is because it is okay to not be okay, but it is not okay for you to stay that way. If you're there right now, that is not where God wants you to be. And I know that because I have been there. I remember that day I called Aaron, and I'm sitting on the edge of it. I'm on the phone with him. I still got a bottle of pills in my hand, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just minutes away from taking these and ending that pain and all that frustration that just would not go away. And I remember I laid all this stuff out on the line. I'm like, Aaron, dude, I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. I don't want to be here. And I called him, and when I called him, I wanted to die. But a couple minutes into the conversation, I realized that I didn't want to die. I just needed help. And I'll never forget, at the end of the conversation, Aaron's like, hey. I'm like, what? He's like, I got you. Here at C3, we got you. C3 is always going to be a place where it's okay to not be okay, but we will not let you stay that way. Listen, it's okay to not be okay, but we will not let you stay there. We love you way too much because we know God has more for you. Maybe you're here today and you're in worry, anxiety, depression. You've had those suicidal thoughts. You're freaking out and you do not want to be here. It's okay. We got you. Maybe you're here today and you walk in, you're like, I absolutely hate myself and everyone around you. Guess what? We got you. Maybe you're here and you've got a secret, and you know that once you reveal that secret, it's going to blow up your marriage, it's going to blow up your family, it's going to blow up your job, it's going to blow up every single thing around you, and your life is going to crumble when you reveal this. Guess what? We've got you. Maybe you're here today and your relationship, your marriage is over. You hate your wife, you hate your husband, you do not enjoy your family, and you are ready to end every bit of that. Guess what? We got you. Maybe you're here today and right now you are cheating on your family. We got you. Maybe you're here today and you're addicted to drugs, alcohol, porn, sex, any of those things. Guess what? We got you. Maybe you're here today and the very thing that you want more than anything is to end it and walk away. Guess what? We got you. This is a place where it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay there because God has more. We love you. We got you. It's our part. James chapter 5. Verses 14 through 16, that's your part. We got you, but you got to ask for help. You got to take your medicine. You got to talk about it, as that's the only way to truly save your life.